It's true, and I use the car analogy a lot too with folks, in that you look at some of the older products and the older ways and the older thoughts that a lot of people approach their planning, and I say, geez, you're not driving the same car you did 20 years ago.
Right.
And a lot of the products that we work with, like you say, it's a newer industry now, whereas these products have evolved to the point where you can get that kind of safety, you can get that security, but also you can participate in the market in a way that is far beyond what other people have ever imagined, most people, I should say. Another analogy I use when I try to educate people about what they've done and how they're going to maybe have to think differently as they go a little bit more forward is I call it the Warren Buffett, Jimmy Buffett syndrome.
Okay.
All right?
That sounds good. I like it so far.
All right. For years, people were opening up their statements at home
Yep.
and saying, wow, look at that plus sign.
Yeah.
I must be like Warren Buffett because he's making money, I'm making money. We must know the same kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the minus sign started to appear.
Yep.
And you felt a little bit more like Jimmy Buffett after a weekend in Margaritaville.
Yeah.
Right? Because you didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, this change happened.
Right.
And even the experts were losing money. So now what do you do?
One flaw in that, though. I think Jimmy Buffett might be pretty close to making what Warren Buffett makes. I see these people going out there with their parrot heads, and I'm going, you have no right to be buying those things. But that's a great point. I really like the analogy side. And you know what's funny? I'm a big analogy guy, too. And, the reason is I think that we can incorporate, these analogies is that a lot of people implement the safety concept in every other part of their lives except with money. And I'll give you an example in the sense that, I wish I could go out and play tackle football, on the weekends, on Sundays before the Patriots game. But, I've grown up, Greg, and I realize that I need to get out of bed on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now Thursdays.
Right.
And, and it's you just grow up, and your financial products need to grow up, and your philosophies need to grow up. And I want to ask, it kind of leads me into my next question is, who are most at risk in this economy, in this recession? Who are the people that are the most vulnerable to this?
The most vulnerable are those that are nearing in or already well into their retirement.
Yeah.
Because another analogy is I say, if you're in the market.
We should write a book together.
I think we're going
all of our analogies.
I think
that would be good.
Kind of like a Yogi Berra thing, but okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. When you're in the market at those later stages, everyone talks about market cycles. Well, you're running out of time to recover on these market cycles, and you will have an exponential downturn in your asset values if while you're trying to recover through all of this, you're also drawing off of these things.
Right.
The people have a lot of folks have to be educated in changing their mindset from accumulation to a distribution mode.
Right.
How do you not only accumulate, but how do you distribute your money in the most effective way so that you don't outlive it?
Yeah.
People are living a long time now.
Yeah.
I mean, retire at 60 or 65 or 70 even. You see, it's very easy to imagine that you're going to be 20, 30, maybe even 40 years into retirement.
I think people aren't really seeing the big picture of, we live for tomorrow, and we don't really live for the day after tomorrow. We want everything now, and we're seeing the market go up and down, and everyone's focused on it. Every hour they're checking it. But what they really should be checking is what the market's going to be 10 years from now. But we have no idea of knowing that.
Right. And it's truly the lost art of saving.
Yeah.
People have gotten away from saving, and everybody used to save. In the 50s and the 60s, everything was about saving your money, going to the bank, putting it away, and having to build your own nest egg.
Yeah.
And then somehow it became very sexy and appealing to participate in the stock market and jump in there and get all that sizzle.
Yeah.
Well, that sizzle came at a cost.
Right.
And now what do you do? Because just because you jumped in doesn't mean you knew what you were doing. Now you need to start thinking about how to recover.
I want to give your number out because I want people to be able to reach you and set up an appointment with you. And you meet with people. Do you charge for visits or anything?
I don't charge anything for visits. I don't charge anything for consultations. I go out, I meet with people in their homes, or they come to my office in Osterville, whatever is most convenient for them.
All right. And Greg can be reached at 978. That's the correct number, right?
That's right.
509-2941. Again, from 978-509-2941. 2941. Right before you leave, we want to talk about a great event you've got coming up this Friday, correct?
Right, this Friday.
All right, so we'll right before you go, we'll make sure that we tell people how they can come see you in live and in person.
Live in person and
signing autographs, taking pictures, all that good stuff.
Whatever
right?
they like.
And then there's a website, too, futuresecuredfinancial.com. Again, it's futuresecuredfinancial.com. And, if you want any more information about Greg, you can visit us at moneymattersradio.net, and we'll make sure you get all his information there. I think people are under the misconception that when guys like us talk about this type of planning, that we expect everyone to go from one side of the street to the other completely,
right,
and to to choose one or the other. Do I want to be in the market or not? And I think one of the things that I want to stress to folks, and I'm sure you do the same, is that at the bare minimum, a lot of people just have to look at where, when you see those asset allocation pies, a pie chart. I'm often surprised when I talk to somebody, when they're in their 60s or, 68, 69 years old, that everything that they have is at risk. Right. And they don't have any protected assets. And they think some are protected because they might be in a bond
right,
necessarily or something like that. And they don't really know, what their real asset allocation is and what's protected and what isn't. And then you come to find out that they don't even have long-term care insurance or any other type of protection. So not only is their assets at risk, but their home is at risk. Their future income for their spouses is at risk. And these are the things that nobody would ever in a million years want to put at risk, but they do.
Right. And it's part of the mass miseducation that had happened with folks after the 60s, saying, look, believe all of this. Believe this hedge is sufficient safety and all of these other things because, after all, we're money people and we know what we're talking about.
Right.
And when we start talking about really protected product and protected assets, people have lost sight as to what that really is. And if you think about it, too, when you look at somebody, you say in the 60s, I had a client recently, she was 82 years old and 100% at risk in everything and had no delusions about the fact that she was. She knew it, but didn't know how to fix it.
Yeah.
All right. And you need to apply that rule of 100 really in a sensible way. And all that really is if you take your age and you put it to 100, that should be the percentage of safe money vehicles that you have in play for yourself. Again, take care of those bumps, but also you're not going to have cycles you need to worry about when you're relying on your income.
Yeah. Well, now we've exposed the issue. We've exposed the problem. Now, what are some of the solutions? I know because you deal with a lot of insurance products that help alleviate these stresses and concerns. What are some of the popular solutions that you're finding now or products that people are using?
I'd say the single most popular product out there, and again, there are a lot of varieties of this, but the most popular product out there is a thing called an fixed indexed annuity, otherwise known as equity index, but we don't use that word anymore because we don't want people getting confused.
Right.
What it is that it's an annuity, which right away is a dirty word to a lot of people because they think that...
Well, we were just talking about that in the earlier segment.
Yeah.
You know?
They think it's an ugly, evil thing that, ties them up in all kinds of different ways to Sunday. What it actually does is allow you to participate in market gains without taking any risk whatsoever, so you're not going to have any downs. You're only going to have ups. You have income options on these things now where you can do things other than annuitize that allow you a lot of flexibility with how you manage your overall asset base and how you're going to get taxed and what you're doing. You can turn money on, turn it off, do what you need to do so that you can actually have a plan that produces income forever.
Right, yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah. And I think that, most retirees, I've seen statistics, that's the number one concern people have is outliving their money.
Oh, absolutely. And it's a legitimate concern for a lot of them because if you take what the old theory of how you're supposed to spend your investments, all right, you say you're going to live off the interest. I have a great chart at my office. It's wonderful. If you say, all right, imagine you're going to get a 12% average rate of return over a 10-year period because, that's what the market historically does. Right. Well, good, I'll live on my 12%. All right. Well, good. But let's imagine you take that 12 grand off a $100,000 investment in year one, but just that first year, the market went down 10 points.
Right.
All right. But every other year after, it came up, so that you gave yourself that 12% average.
Yeah.
You know what happens to that $100,000 that you're living off that 12,000 of interest? By the end of 10 years, you're like $43,000.
Yeah.
All right. You're spending it down because you had one bad year.
Right.
What's the likelihood that that's going to happen?
Yeah.
So you need to take a sensible approach, change ROI from return on investment to reliability of income, and you're going to have a much better, more stable approach